Hey, I'm Kelly Morgan. I am a health coach and a motivational expert when it comes to women's health, fitness, nutrition, anything you can imagine. I'm all about making life easy when it comes to changing your health. So that's why I have a really deliberate framework that I'm going to show you today for changing all sorts of behaviors, no matter what it might be. So, getting you from current self to your ideal future self in a really methodical way. So, because there's a lot for you to look at, I'm going to be switching over to slides. I'm also going into my natural element professor mode, which is the other part of my life. So, today we're going to look at this framework that I've come up with that I not only used on myself to lose 30 pounds, but I've had a near 100% success rate with hundreds of clients and students who've used it. It would be a 100% success rate if it weren't for one student who didn't turn in his final project. So trust me when I say this puppy works. So, what we're doing here today in our session is we're figuring out how to change your behavior. And when I say behavior, so in its simplest terms, that's just what you do and how you act. Your behavior is an external way of showing your attitudes about your health and yourself, as well as what you believe in and value. So, more completely, your behavior is a product of three factors: your motivation, your ability to do something, and the triggers to do that behavior. For you to be able to behave in a certain way, you need to be first, sufficiently motivated, second, able to perform that behavior, and third, triggered to perform that behavior all at the same time. So, behaviors are habits that we've established by repetition over time. And the good news is that you can change your behavior. It's hard because we have these patterns that are ingrained, what we call habits. But in fact, you can teach an old dog a new trick. That is, if the dog is motivated enough to break patterns and create a new habit. Not that I'm calling you a dog. This pattern breaking and new habit formation is what we call behavior change. So it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You're changing a behavior, hopefully to something more beneficial to you. More importantly, behavior change is necessary to reduce or eliminate your activities that are detrimental to your health. Or, to put it in less dire sounding terms, they don't get you to your goals, get you to that healthy lifestyle that's easy to maintain because it just fits in. Before we get caught up in behavior change or any sort of, big lofty idea like that, we're going to do a little time travel. Now, I want you to think about the last time you felt your best. You looked and felt like $1,000,000. Life was good. You were the superwoman version of yourself. And I want you to picture that. Be very specific, like what was your favorite outfit? When exactly did you look so awesome? Now think about your natural element back then. Were you feeling great at work, at home, your happy place on vacation? Picture that too. I want you to imagine your past self in that environment and then keep imagining that until it's so crystal clear that you feel like you're right there with her. Now, stay with me because it's going to get a little more out there for a second. But I want you to spend some time with past you and to chat with her. And this will be something that doesn't happen right away. It might feel just too weird at first. But over time, once you're able to clearly visualize this, I'd like you to sort of think about, would she be proud of where you are now? Would she be surprised? When I need to ground myself or find some motivation for my goals, I spend time with past Kelly. And your past Kelly is going to be different from everybody else's past Kelly because it's you, it's not Kelly. So my version is back when I was 28 or 27. I was about to get married. I had just started working as a fitness instructor at a really large, big deal gym. I looked amazing because I worked out all the time and I was 28 or 27 and I was getting ready for a wedding. I felt good. I was strong. I was energetic. Just everything seemed to be starting for me. So we're not necessarily talking about back when you were super skinny in high school or, your absolute happiest day of your entire life because you won the Nobel Prize. We're talking about when you just felt like everything was clicking. You'd be surprised how clear things can become when you look at your current situation from the viewpoint of your past self and think about what she would have hoped for. What did past you hope that things would be like by now? Is it better than she expected? If so, that's really cool. I mean, there are some aspects for me where 27-year-old Kelly could not have guessed what 36-year-old Kelly was doing. But there are other things where she's a little bit disappointed. She's kind of wondering why, while writing my dissertation at home, I might have gotten Domino's every day and gained 30 pounds. It came off, don't worry. But the past you and current you, there might be a gap to close with where you wanted to be. Now let's fill in the gaps between what past you would have wanted and what really happened. But before we do that, we're going to time travel to 5 years from right now. I want you to imagine your ideal self. Now, this could be anything you want. We're just imagining right now. We don't have to be realistic. How do you feel? How do you look? What are you wearing? Where do you live? Like with your past self, get really specific about everything so that you can imagine yourself sitting with your future self and having coffee with her. Once you're able to solidify that version of you so you can really see her, you can feel like she's right there, just like you could with your past self, I want you to ask her how she got to this point. What did she change in the last 5 years so that she looks and feels better than she ever has? Brainstorm with her to figure out exactly what you need, what you want, and how you're going to get there. For now, I don't want you to be realistic. I want you to find out what might it take. And you're going to have to spend a little bit of time on these visualizations. And I know it might not come naturally to a lot of you. We don't tend to learn visualization and spend a lot of time in it. But I promise you, it's helpful. It's worked for me. It's worked for my clients. It works for Fortune 500 CEOs and professional athletes and all sorts of people. So trust me, it's going to feel weird, but you're going to find a lot of really impactful information if you take the time to really visualize and just pay attention to what's coming up. Welcome back to the present. Those visualizations might have felt a little bit weird, but spend a little bit more time doing them and you'll be a little bit less self-conscious. Remember, you're only in your own head. There's nobody to be self-conscious in front of. So keep doing them until they are crystal clear. You need to be able to thoroughly feel, see, smell, sense, understand every bit of it for this process to work. Now, I use these visualizations frequently, so you might like coming back to them when you are looking for a little bit of extra motivation. That's what I do. Sometimes I need the why from past me to figure out, do I really want to do that behavior again? Was that really smart to sit on the couch all night or to eat until I fell asleep? Sometimes you need that. That's okay. Be kind to yourself. But you can use this as a tool for resetting goals to doing kind of like an internal check and everything. So they can be used for a lot. Just let go of that self-doubt and self-consciousness. Once you have an idea of the best version of yourself and what exactly that looks like and feels like and how you're going to get there, I'd like you to think about using a mind map. Now, I like to use mind maps for anything in my life that requires brainstorming and really trying to get ideas out in front of me. A mind map is a visual representation of information. We can use them to understand ourselves and the world around us. And I like to have my clients start with a mind map of their health to get a picture of all that encompasses being healthy and what it really means to be well to them. What getting to that involves is finding these connections between the ideal self and these different elements. So a mind map starts with a central idea, and then it grows that idea by surrounding it with connected branches of associated topics and ideas. This connection relates and connects those ideas and concepts and makes them a little bit less complicated and scary to pursue. You see all these different things that make up that healthy lifestyle and what could help you get to that goal of having it just be natural and making you feel like that ideal self. And then once you see them sort of coalesce together, it's easier to see it as a whole instead of, oh gosh, now I have to work out, and oh geez, I haven't done my meal planning, and now I need to watch my nutrition, and now I need to do my stress management. It's more about how do you just weave this into your life. Here's an example of a mind map that Vicki Arnold made. To make a mind map, you start at the center of the page and write something high level, like healthy me, feeling great, Or if you can be a little bit more specific, that's good too. But whatever it is, make it that high level outcome. Make it kind of like a distillation of who that ideal self is. So come up with a really short descriptor of her. Now we're going to focus on the big picture for this. So you branch off from that center section with the different ways you'll achieve that outcome right there in the center. I suggest using nutrition, exercise, stress management, self care, and who's going to be your support system. Those are good starting points. If you think of other things that might help you in your mind map, that's great. Add them in there. There are no rules here. Now, as you branch off of your mind map, start branching off of those secondary segments, the nutrition, the exercise, and keep making new branches of related ideas from those sections, and then keep going. Make it as elaborate as you want. Add color, embellishments, anything that makes it come together into your vision. But one thing that I want you to really pay attention to is that you don't edit or self-center. It's really important that you just write and just get it out. Write down anything and everything that closes that gap between the present version of you and that future you that you sit down and have coffee with and talk to in your visualizations. After you've taken the time to create your mind map and you've gotten everything down on that paper, we're going to use it to go another layer deeper to figure out exactly why you want to make this change. What is so important about transitioning yourself from the present you to that future version of you? Using your mind map, you're going to identify the most critical branches you added, and those are the ones that are most likely to get you to your desired outcome. That doesn't mean that the other ones aren't important too, but we can't start with everything all at once. We do have to take this systematically. So choose what is most important to your desired outcome. And along with that, I want you to think long and hard about where you struggle the most with reaching your goals or making healthy changes. In the past, many of us have tried to do something better for our health. It could have been a diet or an exercise plan, or maybe we tried meditating and it didn't quite last. Whatever that may be, it doesn't matter that it failed. That's totally cool. We all do that. We have to experiment. But I want you to make sure that you know why it didn't work. So, in considering all of this, start thinking about what worked, what didn't work. And now you're going to think about what could require some extra planning and maybe a little extra self TLC so that you can reach your next goal. How can you start to get a little bit of progress? Maybe as you're identifying these parts of your mind map that are most important, you could pick some that are quick wins. What could you change that is somewhat painless? What is, something that comes a little bit naturally to you? You might want to try that first. Next, I want you to write the first thing that comes to mind for why you want to make this change. And again, don't self-censor, just write it down. It might be you want to lose weight, you want to eat healthier, you want to stress less. Those are all fine, but those aren't why. Those aren't the core of what you want to do. So what we're going to do is you're going to play your inner 3-year-old. And if you have toddlers out there, you know all about what this is like. They ask that really important question, why? So we're going to keep asking ourselves why we want to do whatever's in that middle of your mind map, whatever it is that is your ultimate goal. And you're going to answer why. Then you're going to ask yourself again, why? Until you get to that very core. Now, there are certain things that are at the core of our human needs. And, you don't have to go all the way down to those core things like safety, sex, power, money, those sorts of things. We're not going to go that deep. But it might be, for example, if I wrote a current goal of mine, I want to fit into my black pants from a few years ago. Okay, that's good, but why? I mean, that's not really a goal you can latch onto. It's not really that compelling. So if I ask myself why, I wrote down because I remember feeling really pretty and chic when I wore those. Okay, that's better. All right, so why? Because I like to get up in the morning and just jump into the clothes that I know I'm going to look good in and I'm going to feel confident wearing. Why? Because it makes me feel good all day and it makes my day go better. Now we're getting somewhere. Once it gets to more of an emotional and more of a deeper need, you know you've gotten there. You can always continue to ask why until you can't get anything deeper, but you'll sort of know it when you find it. And again, just write. Don't analyze now, just ask why and answer yourself. And after you've exhausted that why questioning, we're going to get to the core of your ultimate goal. Do allow yourself to be honest. No one else is going to see what you've written. If it's a little bit superficial, that is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with I want to feel pretty or I like to feel confident. There's nothing wrong with that. So be honest. And as soon as you get to that desire, that ultimate core desire of why you want to do this, then you can start being objective and practical. Remember, I hadn't told you had to stop dreaming yet. So, this ideal self and that real feelings based moment here, keep getting toward that. We're going to be objective next. So, I want you to imagine again and really see and feel and know what life would be like if you achieved your goals. And then what it would really be like to be that dream version of you. Think back again to that future you visualization. Now, I want you to also note after you've gotten to this point, what touches you emotionally about these goals? If nothing, then we've picked the wrong goals and you need to go back and start over. How will you feel when you reach that goal? And I mean, really, what's it going to feel like day to day when you wake up in the morning and you're that future you? What's that like? Are you energetic? Are you excited for the day? Are you nicer before you've had your coffee? Think hard about that. What is the hardest part of achieving these goals for you? And what could be done to make that easier? Who can help you? What can you do to make things go smoother? There's no need to make these things hard. My motto is don't make it so hard because a healthy lifestyle is supposed to be one of ease. It's supposed to be natural. I want you to think about what's made it so hard in the past. Why haven't you changed or succeeded in a long-term change in the past? Also, we're going to dream once again here. If you woke up tomorrow morning with your goal magically achieved, what would be different for you? If this is the right goal, then a lot's going to be different for you. That's how you know it. Now, I don't want you to rush through any of this. This section is especially hard for you to get through because you have to get to something where you know it's the right goal before you start to create your plan. So you have to have the right kernel of the goal before you start to flesh it out and you start to come up with that, itty bitty detailed plan that will put it into action. So this might take a few days. Let it sink in and take your time to go through this process. You can always come back to this video. You have a workbook to go through. Take your time and get it right because then you don't have to come back and do this again. Work once, do it well, and then you're not going to have to do it over again. Remember, a healthy lifestyle is one of ease. Now we get to the details. Once you have those ideas of your goal, it's not quite fleshed out yet, but you have a good idea of what exactly you want to achieve. Now you're ready for us to start to take action to make those goals like a little mini roadmap. So we're going to take those dreams and visions and possibly even wishes, and we're going to get really specific about how to turn them into reality. And we're going to do that by setting SMART goals. Now, SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. This is so popular for goal setting and for achieving any type of goal, no matter what industry we're even talking about. Plenty of research has been done about this, and it is truly the best way to set goals that can be achieved. And yeah, it takes a little bit of time to go through, but remember I told you this is a deliberate process that if you do it right once, you don't have to do it again. So these SMART elements, we put them together to create goals that are really likely to set you up for success because they tell you everything you need. For now, let's pick one goal to focus on and then you can get it all laid out so that you understand the process and then go through any other goals you might have. But if you have multiple goals, don't overdo it. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see from clients or from my university students I do this with. You get really excited and you're just like, I'm going to drink 80 ounces of water. I'm going to go to the gym at 5 a.m. And also I'm going to do this and then I'm going to meditate for 3 hours a day. So don't dampen your excitement, but break it down one thing at a time here. Those goals are awesome, but most of them can wait until you've gotten the more pressing and basic ones going. So let's get some wins. Let's get a goal started at least before you then add on all these multiple layers. I know you're excited, everybody gets excited. So try to at least, put those goals aside for later. Now let's get back to why you want to work toward that ultimate goal. Remember, you did a lot of work on that, so we're not going to let that go. Your really detailed, emotionally charged reasons that you came up with are your vision. That's your finish line for the goal. And that's when you know that you're satisfied with yourself and you've finished the goal. We have to have something that finishes. Projects that go on forever are soul sucking. They feel terrible, they're demotivational. And you have to have some point when you say, "Good job, me," and you can move forward. Maybe it's the next step of the goal, but you have to have a finish line. So that vision you've created for yourself, that's a finish line. We may need to create some mini finish lines before then. You might not just be able to become your ideal self right away. Perhaps one of those early finish lines is, I get up and I walk every morning for 3 days a week. And once you've done that consistently, boom, you've knocked out that goal. One step closer to the ultimate vision. So let's go back for a minute. You have that vision. You're in touch with the reasons for it. You know what success looks like and what it means to you, how your daily life's going to change. And now we're going to get practical. So, that clear idea of success, we're going to translate into your SMART goals. Remember, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. So, specific. This is probably the most important part of goals, at least in my opinion, it is. I'm sure scholars out there disagree, but I think it's the most important so you know what you're trying to do. Being specific about your goal sets the boundaries and helps you know exactly what success looks like. You need to know when you're done. So that is, though your vision's your ultimate finish line, this might be your, checkpoint, your water break. A specific goal lays out exactly what needs to happen and closes the door on ambiguity. So let's say your goal is eat more vegetables. Okay, so how many servings of vegetables? Is that per day? Will you get them in at meals, in a smoothie, in a snack? Pretend a stranger has been handed your goal without any context. They should be able to know exactly what you're trying to do. And the more specific you can be, the better you can create a plan and measure your success. Which leads us to your goal needing to be measurable. The measurable part of this goal answers the question, how will you track your progress? How do you know what's good or what's bad? So if I'm trying to get more vegetables, does that mean servings? Does that mean meals? If you're trying to do exercise as your goal, are you going to track minutes, distance, speed, weight? And you have to just be very specific not only about what you're tracking, but also your unit of measurement. So figure out what you're going to be looking for success with. So no matter what you do, seeing progress keeps you motivated. Doesn't matter what goal. So being able to track that progress is an internal motivator. Next part of this is actionable. Your goals need to be actionable in that you can take methodical steps that lead you to success. It's not an amorphous goal that, maybe someday you could figure out how to do it. It has to be something where you can create a to-do list that eventually leads you to completion. Next, we have realistic. And though we're translating your dreams and your vision, your hopes into goals, your goal does need to be realistic. I know, here we are, we're back to earth now. How are we going to make that ultimate vision of you something you can realistically do? So realistically, you're probably not going to get from present day to that vision of yourself in your visualization from 5 years from now. So we got to think about, how do you get there? Could you realistically work out twice a day for 6 days a week? Cool, I can't. Most people can't. So we have to be realistic about that. What about your job and commitments? If you want to fit into a certain size, well, is that even a possibility? Have you ever been that size? Does the size really matter, or is it how you look? So consider the availability of resources and knowledge and time you have to see if this is something that's a stretch, which is great for a goal, but can it be reached without, a miracle happening? Finally, we're to that last part of the SMART goal, time bound. This goes back to that idea of you need to know when you're done. So your goals have to have a finish line time-wise. So you need to have a deadline to get anything done. And if you're an artsy type, you're probably cringing at the idea of a deadline. The creatives don't like deadlines, but they help you know if you're successful or not. So maybe you're setting a near term goal that can be achieved in a week or a month. Perhaps it's a midterm or longer term goal where we're talking a few months or maybe a year. You have to be realistic about that timing, but you have to set the deadline. So now we've gone through all those things you need to do to write out your goals to make them really, really smart and acronym SMART. There's a saying that a goal without a plan is just a wish. That said, this is where we make your wishes into reality with really carefully planned tactics that match up with your SMART goals so that you have a roadmap that is so easy to follow that you don't have to think about it. Now, before we get to tactics, I want you to think about the overall strategy for reaching each of your goals. Think of each goal as a result. So, there's an old question: how do you eat an elephant? The answer, as we've all heard, is one bite at a time. Those bites are your tactics, the steps you need to take to get the elephant from tail to trunk tip into your stomach. So, bite by bite, decided by your overall strategy, you eat that elephant until you've got yourself one fully eaten elephant. And we approach our goals in the same manner as that elephant. Some of your goals might seem like they're as hard as making a lunch out of Dumbo, but bite by bite, tactic by tactic, you can accomplish anything. It just takes a good SMART goal, a strategy, and the tactics to guide you. So we'll start by listing the goals that you've identified, those SMART goals. From there, I want you to really just think about for each one a 2-sentence strategy. Keep it concise and, strategic. Like you did with writing your goals, imagine you've handed the strategy to someone without context. Could they create a plan to execute that strategy from what you've given them? And after writing a strategy for each goal, you're going to list out the specific things you need to do to achieve that goal. So your strategy is your overall plan. So if your goal is you are going to walk in the morning before you get ready for work 3 days a week. So that is your goal, and you're going to do this every week for the next month. So your strategy would be that you're going to set your alarm and wake up a little bit earlier, and the night before, you're going to lay out your stuff to go walking. You're going to have a playlist, whatever it may be. So you have that strategy, right? Now you need the tactics. This is everything that you have to do to execute that strategy. You have to think about also how you're going to remove obstacles and barriers from your life to make way for that strategy to happen. So what I'm going to do to be able to walk 3 mornings before work each week is I'm going to lay out my shoes the night before. I'm going to have all the stuff I need. I'm going to have every last thing that might stop me. So my phone's going to be charged and it's going to have a podcast ready to play. My headphones will be plugged into it. My alarm is going to be set for enough time that there's a buffer and I can go walk. And I'm going to have my path planned for the day. So I'm going to know how much time it's going to take to do that path so that I'm not going to have any mishaps and be late for work. So you have to come up with every little thing, and you're planning this out with, essentially precision. Consider you are, a general planning how you're going to strike. That's what you have to do for each one of these. So think of all of the ways you can use your strategy, you can get to your strategy to reach your goal. These tactics should be so easy on their own. Like each one little thing should be so easy that it's just silly not to do it. So it would be just silly not to open up iTunes and pick out a podcast or whatever. It would be silly not to put my shoes out or to think about where I'm going to walk around. The power comes from the additive effects of doing each of these tactics over time to lead to change, bite by bite. Now back to that old example of eating more vegetables. So think about my original goal of I want to eat more vegetables. So to reach a goal of eating, let's say, 5 servings of vegetables a day, what are some little tactics I could do that are so silly it would be just ridiculous not to do them? They're just that easy. So I could make a smoothie in the morning with a serving of spinach mixed in. Let's say I already make a smoothie. All I have to do is pop in 1 more handful of spinach. Painless. So if I already bring my lunch, I can drop an apple into my lunch bag. I could have cut vegetables ready to go, so all I have to do is pull them out of the fridge when I'm hungry. Think of these tactics that are not only super easy, but that they fit into your life without you making a ton of extra effort. That's the way to sustainable change. That's the way to being healthy. And anything you can think of is fair game. You might need to be a little bit creative too. So, unfortunately, you can't live in a bubble. I'm sorry. I wish I could too. So, you need to think about all the things that might stand in your way. Do you need to change something? Do you need to buy anything? Create some space? Maybe shuffle your schedule around. Think about how you can easily and seamlessly add these things into your life. So, coming up with your plan, yeah, it takes time. Each part of this takes time, and you may need to revise a little as you get going. Remember, though you've done the hard work one time, things aren't set in stone. If you need to adjust, adjust. You're going to learn things as you go along. So plan your path to success right now while you're motivated. Once you have those goals and that strategy and those tactics, get it all down. It's going to save you from difficult and tempting situations, setbacks, and let's be real, a little bit of laziness in the future. I think we've all been there where we just can't even. So protect yourself with your plan. That's it. You have a plan. Once you've gone through these steps, you have a bulletproof plan. And it hasn't really been that much time since you just started thinking about who you want to be. Remember, this process does take some thought and may take some time to kind of marinate on it, but it shouldn't take more than a few days, which is a really major step toward getting something done. So let's talk about some ways to stay motivated once all the excitement is kind of worn off. First, you want a really good support system. These people will keep you positive, and they might even be working on their own goals with you. So having a support system is really critical, and it's one of the factors that research has found over and over again that helps people become more likely to achieve their goals. It's nice to have that accountability and a little bit of, some cheerleaders by your side. So support could be from your friends, your family, a health coach like me, or it could be from your doctor. It could be from all sorts of people, a nutritionist, anybody out there who really helps you feel more confident and gives you some accountability is great for your support system. Along with this, you want to have some quality information. Now, when you're searching for answers online, I want you to bypass all of the BS out there. There's a ton of pseudoscience, there's a ton of just ridiculousness on the internet. Go to reputable sources like the Mayo Clinic, the NIH, other major health organizations. Universities are great too. You can also get solid information from your health professionals and from the people who are in this summit here today. We all have done plenty of training and are certified in plenty of stuff, so feel free to ask us questions. Even after this summit ends, we're happy to help you. If you're competitive, you might also find some motivation in using apps like DietBet and StepBet. They let you wager money on completing certain healthy behaviors, like StepBet is what it sounds like, taking a certain number of steps. DietBet is almost what it sounds like. It's about losing a certain amount of weight. So there are plenty of apps that are like that out there. Those are just two I enjoy. The most important way for you to be motivated is to track your progress. Even if you are not doing something competitive like DietBet or you don't check in with somebody, make sure that you're honest with yourself and that you're checking in with yourself and tracking your progress. It's really motivating to see even a tiny little change. And you might not notice some of these incremental changes if you just look in the mirror or if you're just thinking about how you feel. So pay attention. If it's not something that you can track in numbers, maybe write down how you feel each day. Write a mood journal. Whatever it is, make sure that you're tracking. So you can use old school versions of this, a notebook. That's great. Notebooks are amazing, especially if it's something that's kind of like, you just want to do it in the morning as part of your ritual. I like to use spreadsheets. I'm a research geek, so I use spreadsheets, and I like Fitbit and MyFitnessPal for getting my data to put into those spreadsheets. And finally, you might need some reminders of why you're doing all this. Sometimes we can get lost in trying to work toward our goals before they become just kind of natural and habits within our lives. So post your goals somewhere obvious. Or you can schedule some time with yourself to revisit, that visualization of past you and future you. Find what works, but make sure that you're connected to why you're doing this. As time goes on, you're going to start checking off your goals, and you might even find you need to tweak them a bit. So, this is where tracking is really helpful too. Make sure that you're taking notes, figuring out what's going well, what might need some changes. And when you're ready to reevaluate things, read through those goals and those tactics and your strategies that you wrote down. Take a look at them, make some notes, think about what was good, what was not the best thing. Look at all of this from a standpoint of how it fits into your life. So you might need to tweak things. Maybe your goal wasn't as important as you thought, so you didn't stick to it. Be completely honest with yourself. Be objective and evaluate your plan. Think about what you would be doing if you were helping a friend with this. So don't get sensitive to your own self with your goals. Go through it and be critical. And in your workbook, there is a resetting goals guide. So there's that for when the time comes, if it's so far down the line that you forget all about this video. There's also a contract with yourself that's in there that sometimes people really need to make things formal. So you can write down exactly what you're going to do and when and all of that, and you can have a piece of paper to remind yourself too. I like to hit it from all angles just in case that motivates you. All right. What are your goals? What's kept you from reaching them in the past? What's worked? What are your thoughts? Now it's your turn to tell us in the comments. No judgment here, so please feel free to be open. And remember, it just takes a little bit of planning and a little hard work up front. And with that, you become you, but better.